same pattern that we're doing in this exercise, just different chords. Today we're going to cover 3 different patterns. I've found as I'm teaching this that there are a lot of people that are new to the right hand finger picking patterns. So what I'm doing is I'm creating exercises using simple chords that are going to introduce you slowly to these types of patterns and set you on track and give you really a practice routine and a foundation so you can start playing things like this. That's one of our patterns we're going to play today, PMI. We're also going to play 2 patterns today that are going to help you unlock something like this. Or perhaps more relevant to the medicine music, like this section from Denise Guacamayo. I changed that last chord there. I think she goes to an A minor. I like the way this sounds. It's a little dark. But anyway, let's get into the 3 patterns. So I'm going to link tabs below. I have these available on my Patreon in the shop. And this particular piece of sheet music or tabs has 10 exercises. I've covered 1 through 3 in a lesson I will also link below. And this is going to be covering numbers 4, 5, and 6. In the sheet music, there's also 7, 8, 9, and 10 available. And I will put that video out hopefully in a few weeks. So we're going to use some simple chords here, and we're just going to slowly introduce these right-hand finger-picking patterns. And in this lesson, I'm also going to try to introduce some practice concepts and tips to you, because I'm really assuming that you're more of a beginner or more of an intermediate style player. I have my capo on the 2nd fret here. That's pretty much irrelevant. It's just for the sake of the way I'm holding this guitar to fit it into the frame. Playing on the 2nd fret feels the best to me. If I'm up here, I lose a little bit of control. So you can start, I would actually encourage you, but if you're a beginner, actually, the higher up on the neck you put the capo, the easier it is to play, believe it or not. So if you're really struggling down here, and we're not going to do any bar chords or anything tough, but if you're struggling a bit, bring everything up a little bit. Maybe put your capo even up on the 5th fret, and it's going to be far easier to play. However, don't get too comfortable and too used to doing this. You want to start bringing everything down and be able to play the full neck of the guitar. That's the goal, to play without the capo. So let's get into it. We're just going to use 3 chords on your left hand. We're going to keep it nice and simple, and you're going to see these chords, especially in medicine music, all the time. So we have an A minor chord. Sounds like that. And I'll put the shape up on the screen for you so you can follow along. Then we're just going to go to a C chord, to a G chord. The way that I'm going to encourage you to play your G chord here, it's a little more uncomfortable, but it's very helpful because it's going to help you unlock different melodies and access to different notes when you're a bit more advanced. You want to play the G chord not like this, which is more comfortable and easy because you have, more strength and control of your 2nd and 1st fingers, at least at first. We're going to work to get that strength and control in your 3rd and your 4th finger here. It's going to be a little trickier, but we're setting the proper foundation and framework to unlock you to play melodies, right? If you were playing with now you're stuck. You have to move fingers and notes, but if you have the proper G shape here, just like that. So your pinky is going to be on the 3rd fret on the 1st string, this E string. Your 3rd finger is going to be playing the octave, just lower, 3rd fret, 6th string, and then your middle finger on the 5th string, 2nd fret. And you can play every string in this chord. So those are our 3 chords: A minor, C chord, G chord, back to A minor. Keep it simple. We don't want to focus too much on the left hand here. The focus and the attention is on your right hand. And I should say before we start that this is practicing. We're not playing. So when I sit down with my guitar every day, at first I practice. Sometimes I break these into 2 different sessions. But my practice session is very different than my playing session. My practice session, I am either doing exercises and I'm laser focused on whichever hand I'm focused on. I'm not thinking about something else. I'm not staring at the wall. I'm focused on my right hand. I'm playing painfully slowly, and I'm making sure that every note is evenly spaced and sounds nice and clear. I don't want any thunky, buzzy, dead notes. I want to make sure that every note sounds bright, clear, the same volume, same loudness, and has the same space of silence between each note. So what I mean is I'm going to go. So our first chord, our A minor, our first pattern, pattern number 4 in the book is P, M, I. P, M, I. P is your thumb, M is your middle finger, I is your index finger. P, M, I, P, M, I. Your P, generally your thumb, is responsible for the lower 3 strings on the guitar. And so it's almost like you assign your finger to these strings to make things a little easier. You don't have to really think about where your thumb's going to be. I know it's not going to be up here. It's going to stay here as its home in these lower 3 strings. My index finger generally is assigned to and lives on this 3rd string, on the G string. My middle finger generally is assigned to the 2nd string, and my ring finger, or A, is on the 1st string. I assign them to the strings so that it's easier to keep track of where I am. My ring finger is not going to end up down here. My index finger is not going to end up here. My shape is always staying the same because I have my fingers assigned to each string. Now, even though it's assigned to its string, your finger can help out its neighbor strings. Meaning, my index finger is assigned to my 3rd string, but sometimes it can help on the 4th string, and sometimes it can help on the 2nd string, its neighbors. However, to jump over its neighbor from the 3rd string all the way to the 1st string, I very rarely do that. It's too big of a leap, and I have other fingers that are responsible for those strings. So it's very inefficient for me to be jumping all over the place with my index finger when I can very efficiently, with minimal movement, just play my middle finger or my ring finger instead. So I hope that makes sense. You want to assign your finger to a string and do your best to keep it there. And when it moves, be aware of it and think, is that a string that my other finger could be taking care of? Now I have the fingerings spelled out in the tabs, so you won't have to worry about that for the exercise. And it should really familiarize yourself because I'm keeping each finger on each string where they should be. So your P, your thumb, is playing for the A minor chord, and for all 3 of these chords, A minor, C, and G. It's alternating between its home, the 5th string, and the neighbor, the 4th string. So the first time I'm going to play 5th string. Second time I play with my thumb, 4th string. Same with my C chord. First time I play with my thumb, 5th string. Second time, 4th string. Same with my G chord. 6th string though for this time. We're going to move from the 5th string to the 6th string. And then on the 4th string for your thumb, 6th string, 4th string, and then back to A minor, 5th string, 4th string. Now, in between each thumb hit, we're going to play our middle finger and our index finger. And in this case, I said that my ring finger was assigned to the 3rd string. However, we're not using our ring finger in this exercise. We haven't introduced that yet. So our middle and our 1st fingers are responsible for and live on the first 3 strings. However, you always want to make sure that your middle finger is on a higher string than your 1st finger because that keeps you in proper shape here. If you switch so that your 1st finger is on the high string and your middle finger is on the 2nd string, my form and my technique is all gone. I don't like that. It doesn't feel good. The right way to do it is to keep your middle finger on a higher string. So in this exercise, number 4, your middle finger is going to live on the 1st E string. Your 1st finger, your index finger, is going to be on the 2nd string, the B string. So it's P, M, I. P, M, I. P, M, I. P, over to our C chord, P, M, I, P, M, I, P, M, I, the G chord, back to A minor. Now what I noticed there for my G chord, we're actually not putting, you don't have to put your second finger down. That's the proper way to play the G chord. It's good to be able to do that, so if you're not used to it, practice that. But for these exercises, just to make it simple on the left hand, because we're not playing the 5th string, you don't need to use it. So you can leave your middle finger up, just don't play that 5th string. In fact, sometimes I will lean my 3rd finger down just a bit, so it's muting that 5th string. Hear it? Right? So if I were to strum, you don't hear it, right? If I were to lift this up, now you hear the wrong note, so it'll sound like this. Slant it back. However, be careful with that because it's not the best technique. You want to make sure that you're arching your fingers before you start to let them fall down. Okay, so back to our PMI, I just want to break down what you should be looking for when you're practicing. Now first, if you're a beginner and you're looking at my technique, I'm kind of holding my guitar like this for the sake of the video, so I can have it in the frame and it looks aesthetically better for you to look at and you can see what I'm doing. It's not really the best way to play, so I'm going to link some right hand technique videos down below from somebody that I reference back to all the time. Look at those and really study that for your right hand technique. He does a way better job explaining it than I could, so start there and then come back when you're ready to start playing. So as you're practicing this, the first thing you want to do is use a metronome. I'll link an app, a link for the app that I use on my phone for this. It's free, very simple, and the metronome is going to keep you on time, keep your rhythm steady, and it's going to make sure that you have even spacing between each note, meaning you don't want it to be... You want it even. Controlled and steady. Right? Another thing that you really want to focus on while you're practicing, this is probably the most important thing for your right hand as a beginner, is called planting or preparation. I talk about it in almost every video, but it's worth listening to and it's worth studying because it really, really will level up your playing and improve the way that you can play so fast. It's a little boring and a little tedious at first, but it's worth doing, I promise. So what planting or what preparation means is that before your fingers play the note, you're planting them on the string and preparing to play the note. So when I play my P, I'm planting and preparing my middle finger, my M, and getting it ready. As soon as that plays, my index comes down, and that's planting and preparing. When that plays, my thumb is down, planting and preparing. Middle finger's down, planting and preparing. Index is down, planting and preparing. What we're trying to do is build up muscle memory. Subconsciously, when you do this slowly and steady, and you program your fingers to get in place automatically before you play them, it's going to take a few weeks, maybe a couple months, until this starts happening automatically, but then the clean speed starts to develop and your fingers are going to start flying to the strings before you can even think about it. It's amazing. It's a great feeling, and it's really, I encourage you to practice and get through this so that you can get to that feeling, because it's great and it really doesn't take that long when you're focused and doing this slowly, combined with a metronome. So just watch my fingers. I know it doesn't sound, when you're playing it slowly, it's not the most exciting thing. You should probably start off even slower, like this. And why you want the metronome is because you're going to want to rush. You're going to want to speed up because it's boring. Get the metronome and that'll lock you into that slower place. And I promise it's worth doing. And then soon... It's like, for example, it's used in the intro of Arbolito Divino. Usually the capo's on the 5th fret. Right, that's the same pattern that we're doing in this exercise. Just different chords. Okay, let's go on to number 5. These are going to introduce your ring finger for the first time here. So there's 4 exercises using just your thumb, index, and middle finger in the sheet music. And number 5, we're going to start introducing your ring finger. So now we're going to go back to assigning each finger to a string. Ring finger on the 1st string, middle finger on the 2nd string, index finger on the 1st string. And your thumb is going to be covering the 4th, 5th, and 6th strings. Same chords, A minor, C, G, A minor. And for this, we're just going to do P, I, M, A. P, I, M, A. Ascending. Your P is just alternating between the 2 bass notes. So for A minor, it's your 5th string and 4th string. C, 5th string, 4th string. G, 6th string, 4th string. A minor, 5th string, 4th string. Notice my preparation. Covered preparation in the first exercise. Let's talk about something another level above preparation, and that's accenting the notes and making the notes that you want to be heard louder than the other notes. So in this case, I'm accenting my thumb. It's a bit easier to do that because it's like a different control than your fingers, so it's a good place to start out. Start accenting and accentuating and making the notes that you strum with your thumb louder than what you do with your fingers. Now, there's 2 ways to kind of come at this, and you want to first start by just making the notes with your thumb louder. So it's going to sound like... You'll hear every once in a while one of my finger notes gets a little loud, so I'll notice that and I'll try to work on that. It's usually my ring finger. I lose a little bit of control sometimes. The second way to kind of look at this is by just making your fingers play much more quietly than they normally would. So your thumb can play in normal volume and your fingers as quietly as you possibly can. This is just to practice and just to get used to playing quietly. So it'd be like this. I don't know if the microphones are catching so low of a volume, so I'll bring it up a little bit. That's your focus on this exercise. You want to make sure you're planting and preparing, especially when you're bringing your ring finger, because it's a little bit different and a little bit newer. Probably you haven't used this muscle before, so be patient with yourself and take it easy. Be very slow with your practice. It will come. And just work on your dynamics, meaning the volume of each note. And I think starting with your thumb, especially because when you're playing fast and you play them all the same volume, it just sounds like noise. But when you accentuate just your thumb and you bring down your fingers, they're like this nice quiet bed of music in the background for your thumb notes to rest on. All right, let's head over to the final exercise of this lesson. It's number 6 in the exercise book, and that's just going to be using the same fingers, but we're going to reverse the pattern. So instead of P-I-M-A, it's P-A-M-I. So it's same fingers on the same strings. We're just going to go backwards. P-A-M-I. P-A-M-I. Probably one of my favorite ones to play. Actually, I use this in chord a lot, which is I call it my magic dust. You can just sprinkle these high or low notes. And the way that you develop that is literally, this is how I did it, is through these exercises. So very slowly, planting, preparing, even space between each note. We're really focusing. And you don't have to do this for more than 5 minutes a day, because you're going to start to slack off and not use all your focus. So the first couple minutes of your practice session, focus, like dig in, do the work first. And then after 10 minutes or so, even 5 minutes of this, you can play whatever you want and have fun and sing and don't worry about it and let all the feelings come out. But the first 5 to 10 minutes, really lock in and really focus, and it's just so worth it in the long run. It's going to level up your playing so much. So really slowly. And then eventually you can put those two last patterns together. So it'll be P-I-M-A-M-I, P-I-M-A-M-I. All right, that's all for the 3 exercises that we're going to cover today. Again, like I mentioned, I have a Patreon page called Spiritual Guitar, and I have 10 of these exercises available in the shop right now. I have 10 more written out, I just haven't put them in the shop, so soon I'll have a nice exercise book with 20 different fingerstyle patterns and exercises for you, and it's just $5 US. So I think that that's a fairly good value for what it's going to give you in terms of your practice routines and what you can really work on there. I'm launching and have a community of all of my Patreon members who are at least donating something, because I want to make sure that they're serious players. But we have an open community where we get to talk, share, discuss what we're working on, share music, share ideas, and it's really great. So if that's something that you're interested in, I encourage you to check out my Patreon and join the community. We'd love to have you. My name is Devin. This is Spiritual Guitar. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Thank you.